Hey guys, me, Chris, and George are here, and we're going to have Chris play Crazy Stone. We usually do that at the 3 dan level, but it's so darn easy for him that I think now and then we should do it at the 6 dan level. And besides, that's nice for me too.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's all set up, and that's Crazy Stone, and Chris is white.
Okay, I'm gonna play 3-3 in the top left corner or top right
Right,
corner.
top right, 3-3.
Hmm.
That's difficult for me. It's a really weird opening.
Yeah, I'll do Q3 in the bottom right corner.
Very territorial.
Hmm. I'll attach underneath. And by the way, George, if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
Sure,
Same for you, of course.
Yeah.
sure, we'll do.
Extend back. Yep.
Yep. Assume correctly. Good.
Hmm. I'm making the robot think already. Oh dear. This one. Q17.
So I have a question.
Hmm.
So white comes in,
Hmm.
and 98% of the time, black's playing A or B.
Hmm.
Rare to play away.
Hmm.
Why? Because they're thinking white's getting a bit much.
Hmm.
Then why is this not a bad move?
So it depends on who you ask. But modern AI typically don't like this move either. They think it's better positioned at R14 or O17 to approach from one side or the other, specifically for the reasons that you would think. White gets something that we could call almost thickness if we're going by textbook with this one, and it faces the center. But yeah, I don't really like this one for white either.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm happy to
Really?
see it. My impression is that black wants to develop the center quickly, so he's choosing
Yeah.
a method to do that, and I'm more than happy to let him because I want the points.
Yeah. Okay. White to play.
Mm, I'm gonna push on top Q17.
On the Crazy Stone board I'm looking at, the coordinates go the other way.
Oh, gotcha. Turn R16.
Really?
Hmm.
Chris,
I'm
presumably
so used to
you could have also gone the
the
other
knife
way.
move there.
Yeah, both ways are fine. The reason I'm pushing this way, black is going to get a center-facing position either way, but I'm sort of noticing that he hasn't enclosed the top left corner yet. And so I'm planning to go for a variation that's a high likelihood of taking Sente here to sort of get ahead of that. So I'm going to play R. I'll do O17 here. Now it doesn't really matter to me how he encloses because it's not going to be super impressive towards the top this way.
So for the 5Q, 10Q people, sometimes they don't know, well, should I be playing this way? I'm just kind of, they don't, it's not in their repertoire to really understand, sometimes they see white playing here.
Mm-hmm.
And so just for their sake, the idea is we want to get the A group out.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do as much as we can because we're virtually alive already. So if we can extend to B successfully, probably do it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's simply going to get cut.
Right.
Can we
Mm-hmm.
go this far? Yeah, because
Mm-hmm. I will
there's
say,
simply nothing black can do.
right. I will say there's actually a very funny sort of variation here. Sometimes you can play as white where you can
You
go
have
to end.
control.
where you can go as far as here.
Uh-huh.
This one doesn't come up a lot, but it is a good one to remember because
Yeah.
this one also is very difficult for black to cut.
Right.
So any number of ways that black tries typically fail. But
Yeah.
the reason you don't normally see it is because later black can play
Yeah.
on top
Second
of it,
line, we're
and you're
already
kind of
low.
getting
Yeah.
stuck, and black is building for free. So this
Yeah.
one, it's usually considered that if black is going to get to push on top and build for free anyway, we would rather it look something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
kind of deal, because we get more territory that way. I don't want to ruin the game tree, so I
Yeah.
didn't put any stones down.
No problem. We are here.
Yeah, this is making sense. I'm gonna finish the Joseki in the corner. Jump. Yeah. Now I would expect it to enclose the top left corner, but it's kind of got this interesting decision to make. Does it play an opening point, or does it get ahead of the middle game that's about to start on the right? Because black kind of has 2 unfinished areas now.
Is that because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
opening move in the top left is less appealing because it's facing a settled group in the top right?
Yeah, it loses a little bit of its value. I mean, it's still going to be big in terms of like points and making sure that D17 is going to be useful later, but it does take a little bit of damage by F17.
I want to do a little thing here
Mhm.
that I've done a few times in a video. Let's do the entire opening here.
Mhm.
So this is 9 down and 8 down playing.
Mhm.
White comes in early.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the bottom right, one might wonder, is it equal? How do we judge this? And so if we count this, black has 1 extra stone, so he should have 1 extra move of value. We'll call it 8 points.
Mhm.
When you look at all the black has on the right and all that white has in his
Mhm.
area, it's exactly 8 points.
Mhm.
So this method of looking at things is interesting. So
Mhm.
let's look up here. We didn't do that. We did.
We did
Come on.
the one
You
space
can
jump,
do
right?
it. No, where'd you go?
Yeah.
Boom, boom. We came out. Can't find the variation is all.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the upper right, on the surface, it looks like white got this wonderful A corner and black got these stupid B stones, which are near 0.
Mhm.
But if we were to count, and notice white has 1 extra move,
Mhm.
so should have approximately 8 points more. There's a weakness here. So if we're going to count points, we might only start here if those are actual points, maybe 1 more. But with the
Mhm.
weakness, I'm not ready to count more than that. Does this all sound okay, Chris?
Yeah, it's all looking normal.
Okay, so we're giving white 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11-ish.
Mhm.
Minus 8, black should have about 3.
Mhm.
That's like exactly what black has.
Mhm.
And I find that fascinating because it's like black is so far behind up there. No, it's exactly right.
Mhm.
I just find that fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's definitely a good perspective to look. Oh, did it actually push? I was going to be surprised if it did.
Yeah.
That would be a
Oh,
bad exchange.
oh, oh. Let me make sure we're on the same
Oh,
page here. That's right. That's right. Yes, everything's right.
yeah. So here I chose to complete the position, which is perfectly fine. So of course the top left looks like it's going to be the most interesting place for me. Thinking here, how do I want to handle this? I'm going to go ahead and play D16 attach.
Okay. A few things to talk about.
Yeah.
First, on the right, that position bothers me.
The position on the right side bothers you?
Or black.
Okay.
Because let's say black plays again. Oh,
Yep.
I'm getting so much. Really? I can just enter.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about I want that to be an A
Mm.
stone. Stone,
Mhm.
just a second. If we're talking about the A stone,
Mhm.
I don't think it does a lot of work in area 1.
No.
Okay. In regards to doing work in area 2, well, we know white can just come in.
Hmm.
So this is not a territorial situation.
Correct. Hmm.
In my mind, if black wants to use the stones, I can only imagine this way work the left better. And now when white comes in, boom, now we're doing something.
Yeah, I agree.
You
I
agree
don't
this is
like
better?
I don't like Q10. In general, if I can just illustrate something really quick,
Yes, please. Thank you.
the way I sort of see these simplistically is that this type of position is only really as valuable as the work it can do in the center. And if the opponent is already ahead on both sides,
On both
running the same
sides.
direction, then it doesn't have value. So white is ahead of black in the race to the middle with both the upper right and the bottom right. So
Yeah.
how is
And on the
black
right
gonna
side of
get
the board
anything
and
out
the
of it?
center of the board.
Right? Like the modern way to do it would be to push one time like this and then just cover. So
Yeah,
something
up
like
on the
this
left
would
side
be,
or up on the right. Yeah.
yeah. And typically we would see this one because at any given point, if white starts approaching, this will increase the value of the upper side for black. So like, for example, we could see if white goes for like a Joseki or something, right? Now something up here would be not terrible for black to establish a position.
Uh-huh.
If we compare to the game variation now, it doesn't really matter to me which side black plays the Hane on. They're both not good.
Yeah. Okay. Now that leads us to your last move.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt if more than 1% of any viewers would consider this any sort of a normal move.
Mm.
They go, what in the heck is he doing? This is the only idea we know.
Yeah. I'm looking ahead. Black just spent a lot of moves getting a lot of influence on the right.
Uh-huh.
If I play anything that's a little bit slack, like a normal approach or something a little bit further away from black, he's got a high inclination to want to start a fight here. Because if the groups start running towards the right side or into the center, he has an advantage there. So
Okay.
I'm
Play
choosing.
something out. I'm giving you control.
Okay, just like an
You're
easy
black
example would be
and you
something
start the
like
fight.
this.
So real simple.
Yeah,
And
like if
now
the
we're fighting.
stones,
Go ahead.
right? Like if the stones are starting to move like this way, like black is already here to intercept any fight that goes to this part of the center.
Okay.
So on paper, black is prepared to handle a normal approach move by virtue of what he has already. By making the contact play, I don't give him the opportunity to flex the strength that he just made. I'm trying
Okay.
to avoid making his influence better.
Great. So let's compare A to, for instance, B.
Mhm.
B's pretty simple.
Yep.
Will, when it comes to black's center thickness, is B a mistake? I think it's too small. I understand.
Mm.
But it's not going to get attacked, is it?
It'll get checked from one side or the other or both. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we avoid the fight, but free corner. Yeah. Okay. Just gets hassled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Cool move. Hey,
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's kind of like in the same vein. I'll show another example if that's all right. That kind of simplifies this
It's all
idea,
right.
and maybe for the viewers. And it'll actually be in a situation something similar to what we looked at earlier when you mentioned 8-dan, 9-dan game. So the common, like back in the day, the old style way to handle the Chinese Fuseki was to get into this mess. And this was a variation that not this one. This is a variation we would see very often. But through research, you find out that the pincer stone becomes quite valuable in this type of shape because we get to keep putting pressure on white and putting pressure on white. So AI would tell us at this point, if you want to handle Chinese Fuseki, just attach. Don't give your opponent the option to flex the power of the stone, force them into a local concession. Now, if they play Hane, you can just dodge, take the outside.
Yeah.
And then they never get to use the strength of this on the right side because you don't give them anything to fight with.
Okay.
And so The same
Go ahead.
concept, more or less, that I'm using on this board.
Okay. So viewers know when you touch a lonely stone, we generally don't do that because it makes him stronger. What do you mean it makes him stronger? Big sente. And if we keep it simple, hey, he got stronger. That's why we don't touch weak stones. And of course, we get stronger too. Okay. Now, the big thing about this is it's extremely local. A very local situation. So if black had the helping stone, it doesn't affect, that's what you touch. It, the other stone doesn't affect it. Very nice. So here, the triangle stone, we're okay with it because it's a local fight, not this quadrant, just this tiny area. Very nice. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I like it. So much to think about. Okay, you went under.
Okay. I'm going to Hane with him in the same direction. Not going towards the top because the top is still quite small.
Right, top is small. So Chris, when you made that decision, was it really that simple, or were you thinking, oh, there's all these variations that I need to
No,
take into
I have a lot
consideration?
of experience in the fighting variations, so I know what the sacrifices look like. I know where the ladders go. I know how to manipulate the fight in a way to get what I want. I'm just focused on direction of play and positional judgment more so than any calculation. My judgment was black invested a whole move on the right side to get some power towards the center. And if I play in a way that lets him use that power, I'm doing myself a disservice. Because if I think Q10 is a bad move, the only way that Q10 becomes better is if I make it better. My opponent doesn't really have any forceful way to do that unless I present him with the opportunity to do so. So I would just rather not create a situation that lets that stone become playable.
Yeah, and your choice for playing C15 instead of E17, could you say it's pretty much as simple as the top is small and the left is much bigger?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we go this way and black connects, black wants to extend down the left side. Black has D4 that wants to develop and build something, and white doesn't get a lot of value on the top. Black can push O16 at any time because of my weakness. If I push at O16, it's not Sente because he played Q10.
Yeah, the top's just not big enough for white to be thinking like this. Now, I think George asked another question there, which is, what the heck? There's a million things now, and the lesser player isn't going to have a clue. Now, let's talk about the difference between me and Chris. I say to myself, you know, I've seen this sort of thing so many times, and I know white's going to be fine. I don't know how white's going to be fine, but I believe I can work it out when the time comes. And Chris is like, oh, you see that ladder there, and oh, there's a ladder over there, and of course I can play over here, because he knows all the variations, or nearly all of them. So they're like, boom, just repertoire. And to me, it's like, okay, one step at a time, walk it through. Okay, boom, boom, white to play.
Yeah, I'm going to play the 3-3 in the bottom left.
Okay.
Yeah, this one might be an interesting one for the Q players watching. We have a proverb, don't defend Kikashi. Since black answered very passively at C17 in the corner, I just treat them as forcing exchanges.
So big.
Great.
We have to talk about this. I hate taking control, but I have to. Okay. Oh, wrong button. Just a second. Okay. We looked at the upper right and counted, and black only needed 3 points in the center to be equal, and he's got that. Okay. So as funny as it looks, it's equal. So here we are in the, what just happened? There
upper left,
in the upper left, And once again, we have a very funny situation. So black has an extra move. Black has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Mm-hmm.
So white needs in the neighborhood of 2, 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
And even though white doesn't have it, white has such flexibility and sente,
Mm-hmm.
it's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could also see it as white has two stones up against a strong black group, and so there's no need
Yep.
to respond locally.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we would look at D15 connect, George, when another conflict on the left has started, and that connection works against both the corner and the other thing. But if it's never a double purpose move, then white usually doesn't want to spend another stone there if white can help it until near end game.
Yeah. Nice.
You mentioned a proverb that I think is useful.
Mhm.
Okay. I say that this white move is sente.
Mhm.
It's sente because black has no desire whatsoever to ignore it. Black has the opportunity to control the situation, come
Mhm.
out better than white. So sente.
Yep.
Okay. This, yeah, sente, but it's Kakashi.
Mm-hmm.
It must be answered and only in one way.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I understand it, Chris says once black plays here, that's submitting.
Mm-hmm.
He's not being aggressive. He's not being grand. He's being submissive. So we can see our move as Kakashi. We force him to play there. Great. Done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that's some good thinking. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Normal Joseki, I'll push up. And for me, the whole board strategy still remains the same. I'm controlling his right side's ability to do anything grandiose at this point. I have a lead in territory, and even though black is building towards the center with some potential, it's not clear how he's going to use it because I don't have any weak groups. At least not yet.
Yeah. Now we see some trouble approaching in the center. Okay, I want to talk about it. Our A stones aren't great. He's got this entire B structure ready to pounce. Now he's got the entire C structure ready to pounce.
Mm-hmm.
This is often the spot where I don't know how to think next.
Okay.
So
I can tell you how I see the board. Maybe it helps.
please.
The future that
And
I'm
you have
seeing for
control of
A
those, helpful.
for A right now, I don't really intend at the moment for these two things to be anything outside of reducing moves towards the center. If black ever happens to spend, I'll just play my next move just so that we have it on the tree. But assuming that I pass, if black ever cuts, I don't really care about the cut. I can extend and live. I can counter Hane and ask for a ko. I could even extend this way if I want and build some group in the center. The cut doesn't really bother me. I have at least 3 different options I can pick. If black plays the Atari, well, this is the stone that has the most space. It still has the most space. I don't need to do anything with it. I can leave it. It's still reducing the local area. I'll just play wherever I think he's going to go next. Just let's put an example on the board. Okay, maybe I go here or something. If he captures, well, his A stone is kind of stupid now. So I'm not really losing anything. If I play away again and he captures the other stone, it's very small. The total pickup in territory that black got by capturing these stones is something in the neighborhood of, what, 10 points at most? And black had to give me 2 moves to do it. It's not really worth a lot to black to do that. So I'm never looking at these 2 stones like they're ever going to be a weak group, which is one of the first things. I'm always going to try to find some lightweight to use it, whether that's going to be playing a Hane at A, playing some move around D in the future, something like that. I'll try to find a way to sell those 2 stones to black at a premium because he's already submissive in the corner.
Yeah.
The push I'm playing because if I can Hane and double Hane, I can really shrink the center presence aggressively. So I think it's quite nice. And as I'm looking at the board and the space on the edges dries up, black is running out of opportunity to make real territory. efficiently, black is going to have to start dumping moves and gote in the center. At that point, the strategy for endgame just becomes encroachment. I've already got 2 stones that can push in from the top, push in from the bottom. These 2 can help reduce from the top left. My vision for this game and endgame is I'm going to force black to go for the middle, and I'm just going to give him the middle. I'm just going to make the middle small by going from the outside.
So have black play his move, C8, and show us how you're going to deal.
Okay. So from now, I'm just going to do something very, very simple.
Okay, keep going. Black plays, fixes.
Does he okay, let's say he connects, right? Something like this. Then at this point, I'm just going to encroach, get more territory.
So you're not even going to think about the center yet?
No.
Nice.
I still have 3-4 ways in.
So that last move, Chris, I mean, it's not defending the white group. It's not attacking, I guess.
Nope.
But it's a big area. I mean, a medium-sized area, I guess, right? But even if black comes back there, we still have entry points, right?
Yep. But the key for this one, George, is that it's guaranteed to be a gaining move. Compared to other things on the board, when white plays S14, white actually gets something real. There's a couple things white gets. First of all, white eliminates black's R15 or S15 endgame options, which for black are typically worth 5 to 7 points. And white picks up about 4 to 5 points himself, plus a follow-up on the right side. The other thing that it's doing that's a positive is it's destabilizing Q16. Those 3 stones in the corner don't have a base, and they're far from Q10. So white is also preparing to strike from below at the connection, which gives white a stronger access to the center. So if we imagine, let's just have black answer this, I guess, with like R13 or something, or R12. Let's say black plays some submissive connecting move. This trade can't be bad for white because white is locally gaining more than black in the grand scheme of things. As far as like the local trade goes, it's guaranteed to be profitable for white. And so I'm taking these points of mutual profit for both before handling the center, because by doing that and then going to an end game where black needs the middle to win, that's all black can do to win. It makes the game very simple. I have one task, destroy the middle or reduce it as much as I can. He has one task. He needs that middle to be bigger than all the territory I've got on the board, which typically means that center needs to be worth 60 to 80 points to win the game on a board like this.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So I think most players seeing this board would say, okay, how in the heck do I start getting in here as fast as I can? And the idea of calmly playing this move, saying, oh, there's some territory over there. I'll take it and stop black from taking it. And then the A group is a little weak. It's so casual. When you know me, Chris, I would be afraid. This is the thing I've been working on getting rid of, is this fear. Okay, very nice. Okay.
And of course, the weaker that A group becomes, the easier it is to come into the center, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're all caught up.
Yep.
Your move.
I'm going to still keep at E5. I think here I definitely want to get this move in sooner rather than later. Yeah, visually, I like it because now I have white stones in all 4 corners that can go to the middle if need be. So it's going to make it that much harder for black to get out here, to get the whole thing rather.
So black shouldn't
he didn't play this, but if he does.
Oh, if he did play it, I would ignore it. I would still play the same move I played before.
So in either case, you come back here.
Yep. Because I got what I needed from E5. I got information. So in this case, if F4, then I know that I have valuable moves on the bottom side later. Moves that can really squeeze that bottom half when I cut. If he connects, then I know that I have the ability to turn the upper left group into a strong group facing the center. Then I have attacking chances against his bottom left corner. If he had capped with something like e7, for example, instead, then I would have fired off the d2 exchanges immediately, really putting as much pressure on the local shape as I could from the bottom, because at that point, if he ignores that, I can build quite a good territory on the bottom, more than I can get on the right. And then with Sente from that position, I would go back to S14.
Okay,
so
you wouldn't fight here.
No, White doesn't need to fight. Okay. I'm winning. I don't need to fight.
You'd go, did you say this way?
Yep, I would just play D2. Nice and calm, then I connect. Yeah.
And there's still Aji there.
And then I'd S14, yeah.
There's still Aji there, and nasty Aji.
And Black is desperate to fight, right? As soon as Black starts to fight, then Black, has
Black has chances to use what he's built, right? Yeah. But if I don't give him the option to have a good fight, how does he win?
Yeah.
And so this is my thinking. I'm just trying to get to endgame. I don't want any more middle game on this board. We're at move 34. I'm trying to be an endgame by move 50.
And I guess Black shouldn't have played the Hane at c5, right? Because first he loses Sente, and there's that valuable peep for you at e5.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. We see more and more. I think it can be difficult for older players. Like when I say older players, I mean people that learned Go 20 plus years ago. Learning why c5 is not great now has been an interesting endeavor for a lot of these people. But I think the more that I've been working with Lance, and the more that we see it, every time the robot plays c5, it gets into a bad position. So
assuming Black doesn't follow up with the double Hane, right? Because that's fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna shoulder hit at j5.
This move's a little hard for me. Certainly understand it, but with all the choices, I guess Black just said, I want that area, and you're saying it's a perfectly good time to start a group in the center.
It's another probe.
Okay.
Probe. So I'm not necessarily going to follow it up. I just want to see if he's interested in taking points on the bottom, or if he's interested in pushing a k5. Because I'm going to get some options later, regardless of which one he picks. I just want to know what I have. So if he plays j4, which would be the submissive one, then later I can play g5 and bridge through the center. I'm going to have a really flexible shape that can make eye space in the middle quite easily. And if he blocks at k5, then he's got to be a little bit more concerned with the safety of his wall, as things on the left side happen later.
Okay, let me repeat that. When he plays here, you're saying, now there's stuff I can do in area 1.
Yeah.
To basically split his groups or start developing something. And if he plays this way, you're saying he did not support his A wall, which actually is not near. I mean, that's a stick.
Yep.
Interesting stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so he plays this way.
So I'm just curious to see which way it's going to go. Okay,
this
I'll extend and ask one more time.
Just a second. This one?
Yep. Again, every time he answers at h4, I can treat these like forcing moves and play away. So this is the idea I have in the back of my head.
As soon as I see this, like a direct connection, you playing directly from that initial stone, to me it seems like this group's becoming heavy. But I guess as long as you see that they're actually forcing Black to take the bottom, then we can treat them.
Yeah, so heavy and light just refer to how easy it is to sacrifice stones.
Okay.
2 stones stuck against a strong opponent wall are the easiest stones in the world to get rid of. Yeah. Because if Black ever surrounds these 2 stones, then Black is paid a stone inside his own territory for every white move I've played here.
Yeah.
I'm not losing any points.
So essentially, they've already done their work, and that is pushing Black down to the bottom.
Right, which is exactly where the proverb "Don't defend forcing moves" comes from. I'm going to extend to e16 next.
E16. Okay. I want to look at a couple things.
Sure. Mhm.
I'm making that wall easier to see.
Yep.
And you just said the easiest stones to sacrifice are those two E5 and E6 because,
Mm-hmm.
but please take them.
Right.
And if black does take them, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 moves for 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And the harder it is to sacrifice them,
Mm-hmm.
then we call that heavy.
Yep.
So easy to give up A, easy to give up B, impossible to give up C.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said E16?
Yep.
Okay. Now, one more time. We talked about this wall,
Mm-hmm.
and that means we can sacrifice white's E5.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about this wall, and we're sacrificing these two.
Yep.
Okay.
Chris, could you talk briefly about how you would respond if black pushed up instead at K5?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if he played K5, I would have asked a very similar question. I would have jumped. Assuming wedge connect, which is the most standard option, I would still come back here. Because the point of the sacrifice remains the same. Every time he tries to go after my stones and I stay outside of him, he's only getting marginal gains in territory 2, 3, 4 points at a time for all the moves he's investing. And the center is getting smaller and smaller. He doesn't have a way to surround me completely. So I don't need to do anything fancy. I just need something to survive in the middle. And I'm going to do it in the easiest way possible, which is feed him a few stones at a time and stay outside of his ability to surround me.
Yeah, okay. And usually in this kind of context, instead of the E16 move, I would expect, I don't know, something around the H9 sort of area, kind of lightly defending. But how would you choose to play away instead of playing such a move?
Well, let's think. When we're playing a light defense, it's usually because we're trying to do something to mitigate either the cut or the pinch, right?
Yeah.
But why do I care about black taking either of these points? Because the problem is, okay, let's say I play here and then black does take A. That's my sente. That's my sente. Black can't follow it up. So I can get my benefits by sente. Let's just have some benefits here. I can get whatever benefits I want. And even if black does extend, I'm still winning. It's not enough territory for black to come back in this game. And I just simplify the game even further. Now now, for example, I can push and I have a potential that's going to rival his in the center. So it's just, you would defend if black getting a follow-up in the area was actually severe or like powerful in any way. But there's nothing powerful here against white. I've already been paid for all these exchanges, so I don't care if he plays there again.
Okay. I've got to repeat something here that was meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you say this before, and it was just over my head. I took it as something I'm not capable of understanding.
Okay.
And that was, see if I can remember, if I play in this manner, I'm positive I have enough points. If I play like this, he can't compete with points. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know that? But then you just said something else, which is really worthwhile here. Okay. White, black, white does whatever. Aha, I have captured your stone. That's incredibly small. So you got 2 moves away when you got something small. Okay. Well, what about you play away? He says, oh, I got something bigger. You got 2 moves away. How much did he gain there? Let's say 10, but you got 2 moves away. So you keep, every time you sacrifice a stone, he's getting a small stone, you're getting a big move. That is kind of a new perspective for me.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as like those moves you gain are territory positive, you don't end up losing anything in the exchange anyway. So that's how I would have handled the push up, George.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And sorry for so many questions, but why now the timing for E16? Why is that suddenly necessary?
So black submitted on the bottom side, right? Which means if I want to in the future, once black has taken a submissive stance like this, it's going to be very hard for black to resist any moves that I play around here. So if I can create a stronger position at the expense of black's corner on the top left, if I choose to move in the bottom left center at any point, it's going to be much easier for me to use the J5 stones and all the sentes they might have around them. For example, the Hane or the push or the extend, or like, let's say this large knight's move is another possibility. Like I can use all these forcing moves. And if we assume that white is getting a really strong position up here somehow, some wall looking position, it's going to be very, very hard for black to capture any of the white stones on a larger scale. My job with these 3 stones is I don't care if they get sacrificed. I just have to make sure that they die small.
Yeah, okay.
If these get surrounded, like let's say black gets, I don't know, large knight move, 2 space, 2 space, and they're surrounded like this and they die, I lose the game. But if they're surrounded something like this, I care less about the points because it's not going to be enough. I'll be able to make those points back up in the center, the top side, wherever. So it's just a matter of counting, you know, how big of this, how big can I allow it to get for the sacrifice? By extending here and creating a support structure on the top, I can make his capture smaller later.
Okay.
Hopefully that was clear enough.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
So the board looks up to date and white to play.
I'm going to push at K5.
K5. Yeah, I would not be able to work out all this timing.
I'm not sure the timing is so specific. I'm just playing things that, to me, seem like they're going to be forcing enough that he's going to have to answer. And I'm trying to do it when they look the most forcing. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm correct, though. Hane? Yeah, that's the one.
To me, the O3 stone looks amazing because that group is so strong. It doesn't matter how many black stones are in that area. It's not going to have any effect on that group.
Yeah, yeah, that O3 is great.
Extend. Now looks even better with 2 cutting points to drool over. And now
black is getting weaker and weaker by the moment. You have a
white's already got a half eye here. He's helping me live, which is the hard part about this type of game, because this is not the situation you want as black. If you're having to force like this to help white live, you've made a big mistake somewhere.
And can we say now that the white group is becoming heavy?
So here's the thing, right? If we assume J7, I'm still going to offer the 3 stones. I'm not going to try to save them. So no, white is not heavy yet.
Okay.
I was just going to mention that. You don't want to give up the A and the B. If he takes the B stones, I'm sorry, that's just 6 stupid points. If he takes the A and the B, then we're talking 20, 25.
Right.
So I guess as soon as you play a move that connects the A and the B together, then it becomes heavy, right? Because if those stones are all captured, then it's very big.
Now it's a group.
Right.
Yeah.
But like if we look at, for example, let's have black play J7, just for the sake of argument. Like white's never going to connect. White's just like 100% of the time, white's going to turn here.
Sure.
Like white's never going to think about anything other than M7, get the head position out. This is, in Korean, they would refer to this as hangma. The L7 is the head position of the group, the K5 stones of a tail that we can let go. If black tries to put pressure on the cut and say, hey, this cut is real, I'm sorry, no, it isn't.
Yeah, sure.
You're just playing a move that's behind the line, and I'm just going to cover you and stay outside.
It's all sente to kill,
Yeah. So.
I mean, that is so much Sente, and Block got so little out of it. Yeah,
Yep.
wonderful stuff.
Mhm.
I can remember when I first learned how to sacrifice, and I was like, oh man, I felt like I was magic, you know? Give him up. I don't care about him. It's like, oh my God, that's a scary thing to say. Okay,
Yeah, I
go
don't
on.
know how it's going to answer the extension. Maybe it does peep. I don't know. But if it does play J7, my move will be M7 for sure. So
You're making beating a six dan look so easy. It's incredible.
well, the thing
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it comes down, I think, to recognizing mistakes, right? So as long as you can recognize where the mistakes are coming from and you sort of have a good understanding of how to punish the type of mistake you see, like you would look at Q10 in a local position as a Q player, you would never recognize Q10 as a mistake on the board. But the second I see Q10, I look at the situation, I go, I don't like that stone. I'm already better than that stone. My strategy from this point, if I make that stone bad, I'm already 5 points better. And then I just play with the whole board idea. So this is the game variation. I'm gonna Hane at G4 now.
G4
Mhm.
to,
Another question.
yeah, and we're asking this question.
Yep.
Okay,
All about manipulating liberties here.
interesting.
And the black group on the bottom left is suddenly cut off, or almost cut
If
off.
he allows it to be cut off,
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, black has got a lot of weakness for an area that should have been black strength. you know,
Oops.
the cut. So this is an interesting thing. If we go back one move, and this was a Q player or low don player's game, and I ask them, what are you afraid of as white? The biggest answer I think that I'd get is, what if they cut at G5? For me, when I see G5, I can't help but think black is giving me a present. Because in general, cuts favor the defending player more than they favor the attacking player, especially if you're trying to sacrifice something. So when black cuts at G5, it makes everything in the local area to me a lot easier for white. So to handle that, I'm just going to Atari from above. If black Hanes, it's much, much harder. Black hasn't given me a free Atari resource, and he's left a weakness behind in my shape.
So you're doing the Atari?
Yep, doing the Atari. I can't imagine it's going to change its mind now. Okay, cut at L4. We're going to ask a question again. Get all my freebies out of the way now.
Wow, you're just ripping them to shreds, Chris.
I try my best.
I would have just immediately, as white, played f6 without really thinking much and getting all those forcing moves that I can. But I guess that's damaging the G4 stone unnecessarily.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Aji in the position, so I think asking the right question is really critical. And just do a quick calculation here to see if my assumption is correct. I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for black to drive here. I'm going to extend this down, I think. And just keep re-asking him the question. It's looking like it's going to be a fairly difficult endeavor for black. Black can get distracted and try to capture the M4 stones and drive through, but the corner's going to still be alive. And it's just going to make the Aji on the bottom and the center worse for him. Extend
I
again.
assume you're going to extend?
Yeah. Extend again, for sure. I'm going to let him drive it all the way down.
And even if black does drive it right the way down, it still doesn't really hurt the white group, right, in the corner.
Right.
That white group is so solid.
Extend. And now he's kind of forced into the N2 direction. The Aji down here is so bad for him. And it looks scary for a lot of Q players because they're like, oh my god, all my stones are gonna die, but everything I've gotten here for free. Turn. L2 Atari. Now, how's it gonna defend this? Black's running into a Liberty shortage, and this is the value of not damaging our G4 stone, George.
Yeah, I see.
So Black got what he wanted. He got a fight, but he got a fight in the wrong part of the board. Connect solid at H6. That's a forced move. And here I'm not worried about the cut because his M5 group only has 2 liberties. So my 3 stones in the center are still perfectly fine.
Yeah, some of his is going to die.
And here I would say the biggest fault for Black was he played pretty bad direction in general, but also in the fighting he just went after the wrong things. Cut at N5. The Korean way. Extend.
Wow, it's just working so well.
Connect. 04. Now, in this situation, we've picked up a gain of something close to 12 points on the bottom side. So the value of the center, in order to compensate those 12 points, White's going to need to make about an extra 20 or 22 points to compensate that. Or Black is, rather, in the middle. So at this point, it's just looking like it's going to be very hard for White to lose. Extend to F4. This one might look a little suspicious, George. But the idea is Black can't allow White to get an eye there. If Black does, the 3 stones at J4 are going to die. Empty triangle. So by playing this Atari and forcing Black out, I keep Black's liberties tight, and I get to play a natural move to keep him separated by force. So this one is just good fighting technique. I force Black to help me hurt himself.
As soon as the situation gets a day.
Okay.
It's not quite clarified yet.
Yeah. Okay. Cutting is certainly a move. Atari from above at F7. I'm assuming it's going to capture F3 because it's the better capture on this board. Doesn't really make much of a difference. Now we can Atari at K7 and our groups are connected.
Just a ladder, boom, 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 just a ladder. Okay, just so everyone can see it, and I can be sure I see it. So we have a ladder that works. Therefore,
yeah, once this Atari gets played, Black's not going to be able to kill White in the center anymore. So
when did you first see that ladder, Chris? Had you seen it quite some moves back?
When I played F4, I'd already seen the ladder. So the thing was, the minute that Black cuts it at K6, even when Lance was showing his variation earlier, when we talked about the sacrifice, you have to be aware that K7 is the correct direction you're going to play Atari from with your 3 stones. So you always know that move is there.
Yeah.
It's just when the bottom side developed the way it did and Black allowed me to play F4, at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, I can force him to make G7. And then he has to go back and fix a problem. So because I'm able to get G7 and Sente, I know that I have a ladder.
Okay, so our A stones are alive because B's dead. Our C stones are alive because we're connected and have this wonderful center. And if I was going to go intuitively, I would say we're 40 points ahead.
Yeah, we're getting up there.
Yeah, pretty far up there. Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah, sort of
makes sense.
recapping might be interesting, like some of the big points. But
Territory, come out, and the contact. This is a great lesson right here. What is Black going to do? Fight. He's got to use that. Then don't let him fight. Contact to settle. Interesting. Oh, and this one, holy cow, walking away from that. That's such a change in perspective. Kikashi, walk away. That's a little hard. This, very casual. Gosh, that's a casual move. And this whole thing is difficult. So I'm going to try to phrase this. The entirety of Area 1 is a question. Gosh, I guess I could start coming out at A. I guess I could start trying to come out at B, turn up at C, try to find a way in there. But none of those are clear in the slightest. So ask a question. And that's standard practice. If you don't know what to do, just ask a question.
Yeah. I was one of the other teachers for the NAOL, Kevin Young, 1P. He's one of our young incoming rising professional stars. We had a conversation about sort of like our meta thoughts on Go. And he was like, to be honest, I like to put the game in a situation where I only ever have to think or do one thing at a time. And I was like, so in situations like this translates into, there are a lot of options for white. So I'm going to make Black tell me what I should do. So I ask him a question. Hey, how should I break your position?
Yeah.
And however Black answers is going to tell me how I should do that.
Now, we've seen this thing before. I'm going to take off 03, so it looks much more like a Moyo. We've seen you play this and say, just tell me what I should do. And we've seen you do this a number of times. It's like, hey, that's a pretty good move. Same thing here.
Yeah, I like the practicality of it. And J5 and K5, I'm kind of split even on this board which one I'd like to do better. But I picked J5 because it seems like it's hard for Black to make clear territory on either side without something big dying. But it's also hard to kill it on a large scale because I control whether there's something big that dies there, not my opponent. So ultimately, that's why I opt for J5 over the attachment here. But yeah, I would say this is a good lesson in using forcing moves, like understanding how to treat stones that might not necessarily be traditionally called Kikashi as Kikashi to get a good result. Because that's effectively what I did on the bottom.
This is most of us are thinking about, okay, let me get my group out and stop him from cutting. And you're like, no, please cut me.
This one I think is just good hangman because Black is on the same line as White's head position. Black's not ahead of me here. So I want to make my head position wider so it's harder for him to surround the part of the group that's trying to escape. Or keep access to the center, rather. So the turn feels like the most natural move to me.
Yeah. Here, we're once again in a position of, well, I could try the A direction. Maybe I'll just jump out, try to get out in the open with B. Maybe I'll get back to my C move. And you're like, well, none of that's clear. How about if we just ask a question? This comes up a lot. I'm hoping this become part of my repertoire. Boom.
Yeah, I thought G5 was just a big mistake, to be honest. Honestly, I feel like a lot of low-down players will look at G5 and they'll think that's the strongest move. I think it's a weak move. I think the strongest move is G3 for Black, to be honest.
Yeah.
G3 or L3, like just get thick, because if you cut, you simplify the position for me. It's not like it's making my life any more difficult here.
This was all great. And from here, it's just pretty much all one direction.
Yeah.
Very nice. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, George, anything else?
No, that was a masterclass, Chris. Thank you very much.
Okay, viewers, I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Catch y'all
Yeah.
later.
See ya. Bye bye.
I'm actually curious. One thing I've been doing